Shalom, shalom, Shabbat shalom. It's so great to be quarantined in our second home. Actually holed up. No one is sick around these parts, and I'm so glad for that. But having Shabbat thoughts, and of course you probably know that we have prayer all throughout the day. Prayer shifts every day, and then on Friday night, it's all throughout the night. It's prayer shifts go all through the night. And so people get things. We write them in our prayer book. It's really the culture of a house of prayer, which that's what we're building right now. It's vertical, Galilee House of Prayer. But so last night, it was during my shift, and I thought, Lord, what are you saying? And it's cool how the whole world is now taking this time to quiet their hearts, to get their weapons of war out, their instruments, and to hear from God and say, Lord, what are you saying? And so I was there, and I was in Ezekiel 47, and about the living with the holy water that comes out of the sanctuary. And I was reading about how it comes. Of course, we know when the return of the Messiah happens in Mount Moriah. Of course, there is that Mount of Olives splitting in two. We know that from under the Temple Mount, there is this water that flows out, and there's this man who goes and measures it. Ezekiel sees this in a vision, and eventually it flows down. It gets really, really so high that someone can't even hardly cross it. And it goes down to the desert, into the desert place, and this living water, this fresh water flows, and it brings life. Suddenly you hear, of course, fish. It goes all the way down to the Dead Sea. That becomes fresh. And with all the fishes of the Mediterranean Sea, and there's fishermen there. I heard this thing where someone says, hey, I need to get a fishing license for the Dead Sea, which is a salt sea. We float on that. But it was just so amazing to think in my mind of the truth of what the future holds for this land and for the world, because then alongside this river of life, this river of supernatural water, you have these special trees that spring up on both sides, all the way down into the Arava, into the desert. And you have there these trees, and the trees have these all kinds of fruit. And that fruit is for food, and of course the leaves are for healing. And I was just thinking about that. I'm just sitting down there in our prayer bomb shelter, and I'm just saying, Lord, the healing for the nation, even the very thing, this very act of healing that God gives us. We wouldn't need healing if there never was a plague or there never was a sickness. All things are to prove how God, the God of Israel, is the only true God, not any God of Egypt. All those gods fail and are defeated. Even the very molecules come into the command of a living God. The molecules of the water, the Red Sea, they actually went against, counterintuitive to their own structure, their own design, and stood, and standing ovation as the children of Israel crossed, and also the Jordan River too, and the Nile turning to blood. Wow. Some crazy things, but I was thinking of this river that flows, and it says these leaves are for the healing. Okay, the fruit is, and so it happens that it bears fruit all the time, not just in the normal man-made seasons, because this water is flowing right out of the sanctuary. And so then I'm there, and we have a little Torah scroll down in the bomb shelter. So I go there, and I wonder where the Torah scroll is open to. So I'm there. Opening the Torah scroll, and it actually happens to be, it's this little Torah scroll we have, very cool, and it happened to be right at, you can believe this, right at Leviticus 13, and I rolled to 13 and 14. Leviticus 13 and 14, and as soon as I opened it, I'm like, Lord, what is going on? And it said right there, it said, now when someone has a disease of some sort, he must go to the priest must check it out, examine it. And once he sees a spot or a white spot or different things, different types of diseases we talked about, then, of course, he has to go and quarantine for 7 days. Then he goes and has a checkup by the priest, and then he has to go another 7 days. So each time it said 14-day quarantine. Each time throughout, you can read it. Each time it talks about 14-day quarantine. And the parashah, the portion of the week, of course, it ends right at the beginning of the call of Cyrus. the Haftarah, the Isaiah, it ends right over there almost at Isaiah 45, which is the call of Cyrus, where that call goes out. How funny is it that that's what people are reading right now? Actually, starting next week, we're going to be reading the actual call of Cyrus on our readings. You've heard of the book by Jonathan Cahn, right? Where he talks about this mystery of the mystery of the cycles of the reading of the oldest Torah reading plan in the world, where you go through the Bible and each time it lines up with history. And that's so crazy that right now, in time of the call of Cyrus, we are now reading about the call of Cyrus. We're about to be, it's just starting to read about the call of Cyrus, which is where it talks about, of course, to build a place of the presence of the Lord in the land of Israel, and then also to help the Jewish people return. And that's the exact things we do right here. And God's called foreigners, nations, to they're going to go through a shaking, and then they're going to join with this plan, which is the plan of plans, the plan of the one who created every molecule in the universe. And so this song came out as I'm thinking about this river. I'm thinking about this healing. I'm thinking about healing of disease and how God wants to heal the nations. And see if I can play it. I have a lot of grace with me. Okay, I just wrote this, so only short time ago. So it's almost like a battle kind of cry. It's like it's not like the lazy intercession. This is more of a with drums. We would need drums. We would need some bass. We would need some. This is deep intercession. But this is out of, again, Ezekiel 47, about the flow of this river, which produces these trees that produce fruit all the time, not just in the seasons, all the time, every month they're producing fruit, and the fruit is for food, and the leaves are for healing. Okay, so and it's right out of the sanctuary. This is something that the shaking is leading somewhere, you know. So anyway, I'll start out with playing a song that I heard, another one that I'm going to get into mine, but it's like, "Thing if I desire the Lord, that one thing I'll seek, to know you, to know you. Oh, one thing if I desire the Lord, that one thing I'll seek, to know you, to know you." Let's sing that again. One thing if I desire the Lord, that one thing I'll seek, to know you, to know you. I was made to gaze all of my days. I was made to gaze on you. I was made to gaze all of my days. I was made to gaze on you. One thing if I desire the Lord, that one thing I'll seek, to know you, to know you. One thing if I desire the Lord, that one thing I'll seek, to know you, to know you. And I was made to gaze all of my days. I was made to gaze on you. I was made to gaze all of my days. I was made to gaze on you. So then a song started coming out that God was giving me with that river. Flow out to the desert, make it bloom. Flow out to the made for food, and their leaves are for healing. Their fruit is there for food, and their leaves are for healing. Their fruit is there for food, and their leaves are for healing. Their fruit is there for food, and their leaves are for healing. Their fruit is there for food, and their leaves are for healing. Blow out to the desert, let it bloom. Go into the Dead Sea, make it fresh. Heal the nation. Hear us from heaven, heal our land. Heal our nation. Heal our nation and our land. From the sanctuary, let it flow. From the sanctuary, don't you know? From the sanctuary, build the sanctuary. I'm gonna go back to that other song. One thing have I desired of the Lord, one thing I'll seek. Oh, to know you, to know you. Oh, one thing have I desired of the Lord, one thing I'll seek. To know you, to know you. Now I was made to gaze. Oh my days, I was made to gaze on you. Now I was made to gaze. Oh my days, I was made to gaze on you. One thing have I desired of the Lord, that one thing I'll seek. To know you, to know you. Oh. That fruit is made for food, and their leaves are for healing. Their leaves are made for, and their leaves are for healing. That fruit is made for food, and their leaves are for healing. From the sanctuary, let it flow. From the sanctuary, don't you know? From the sanctuary, we invite you to join us for the watch anytime. You probably have to physically go. I hear the dogs joining us right now. But hey, could you tell the dog to be quiet? We're trying to do something. Can you go and quiet the dog, please? Yeah, it's the dog barking. And we definitely, as we watch all night, we do shifts every single Friday night as we welcome the Shabbat. Things happen. People receive such words and such encouragement from God. There you are. That we are going to see such a harvest. We're in the barley harvest now. We are going to see such a blessing happen here in the land of Israel and throughout the world as the Garden of Eden returns. As we see that tree of life come back and us be able to enter back into the Garden of Eden. Remember those priests. Remember the cherubs with the flaming sword. Remember that they had the flaming sword and the cherubs were the very same thing on the veil of the temple, keeping us from getting into Mount Moriah. Even today, we are unable to enter into that place where the sanctuary stood on Mount Moriah. Think about the cherubs that were sewn into the garments of the high priest. And think about how the veil is being lifted. Again, temple veil had cherubs in it. It had the same purple. Think about the veil in the tabernacle. Same thing. Cherubs were woven into it, and it had the purple, it had the colors, it had the blue. Think about the veil that's being lifted as we go into the sanctuary and into back into Eden. God bless you with these Shabbat thoughts. Be encouraged. Draw near. Purification of the priesthood. God bless you from the Aliyah Return Center. And hey, say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.